Okay, in N1 DISinfo, our next guest is Paula Gori, EDMO Secretary General. Paula, thanks for joining us on N1 DISinfo show. So shortly, what is EDMO for you and why was it established?
So EDMO stands for European Digital Media Observatory, and the idea is to bring together experts with different expertise to work together towards a solution against disinformation. Indeed, when it's about disinformation, there's not just one single solution. You have to have different actors involved. So we have the fact-checkers, the media literacy experts, the researchers, the media community. We also talk, of course, to platforms and so on. I often mention one example, like even within one single category, like the academics, you need the different disciplines. For example, we go nowhere if we don't have the neuroscientists that tell us that when you are emotionally angry or frustrated, you share more irrational in your line. I often bring this example because it clearly shows how much different expertises are needed to tackle this issue.
Are Europeans aware that EDMO exists and working such an important role?
I guess some Europeans are. Probably we really hope to get a broader reach, also because our mission is grounded around citizens, in the sense that if a citizen gets informed correctly, he or she can make informed decisions, which is very important, of course, in times of elections, but also in many other situations. So clearly the citizens are at the heart of our work. We work for the citizens, and our mandate now is precisely to be known even more in the whole EU community.
EDMO is doing almost all around the Europe, and we are all different experience, different past, different politics. In that kind of overview, what are you considering as the biggest challenge in terms of fighting of disinformation?
I think the biggest challenge is also our biggest strength, in the sense that clearly, as you rightly said, the local dimension plays a very important role in how disinformation is produced, how it is spread, but also the impact it has. However, being united and being together helps us, because let me just mention an example. We see it now with the war in Ukraine. Many disinformation narratives, they enter from the East, and our colleagues in the East, they inform the fact-checking community in the other countries that are then ready to, let's say, detect immediately those narratives and debunk them immediately. So you see there are challenges, of course, because we are all different, because disinformation spreads differently, but we can also work together, actually jointly, to really have a rapid response, and also to share best practices. This is really fundamental.
How we succeeding to do that? Looking at the fact checkers in different countries, sometimes they're under the heavy attack from some kind of different groups or organizations, especially targeting the people who are fact checking, putting a lot of pressure, especially on the social media. What we can do? Is there any way that we could support that fact checkers? Should we put a lot of efforts? Should we giving some kind of strength? Should we talk more in the media? Should politicians do more to protect the fact-checking?
I mean, I think 15 years ago no one was talking about fact-checkers. Now everybody is talking, rightly so, about fact-checkers. And the work they are doing is really crucial. Of course, you can debate on the impact. In some cases the impact is very important, in others it is less. But the work they are doing is important, and we have to protect the work that the fact-checkers are doing. I often, when I see the comments also online from some citizens, I often repeat also to the people I talk to, there are facts and there are opinions. And opinions are just interpretation of facts. It's a different story. And the fact-checkers, they look at the facts. And what they do very professionally and think very strategically is, if you read a fact-checking article, you can go through the story. So the facts are really, you can touch them, you can see them, because there are the links to a given, I don't know, statement or to a given report. So they are not there to convince anybody, they're just there to show the facts. And this is really key nowadays, considering that opinions and facts are somehow, if you want, mixed and also misinterpreted online, but also, I would say, offline.
When we're talking about that fact-checking, is that one of the challenges that we are facing, especially right now, with all those experience, from pandemic, then we have a war in Europe, and then we are facing European election. Do you think, or do you considering that time right now is especially important for fighting the disinformation?
It is. Actually, I think that the pandemic showed clearly that disinformation is not only about elections, it's way more. And indeed, the fight against disinformation is very important precisely because it's not only about elections. The risk is that in the future we don't get to know what is a fact and what is not. Yes. So it might actually apply to many other fields, and we see it already, for example, on climate change, with climate change denialism and so on. So clearly, tackling disinformation is a fundamental action right now, and will be continuing in the future.
At the end, we are always taught that, the young people are the future of the European Union, and, in any particular country. Are young people aware of, EDMO? Do you think that we should be, much more worried about the young people and, the future of European Union in the way that young people feeling what's going on, and, how much they are, target for those disinformation and attack on the different countries, especially in the Eastern European countries?
I have to say I'm quite positive, and I tell you why. The first thing is I met many schools, and I was surprised by actually both the level of awareness, but also not only awareness on the political situation and so on, but also on how the platform work and how actually to interact with content that they find online. They are quite skeptical, and they know that they cannot trust everything, that they have a trust issue in institutions and in the media and so on. So I was quite surprised. Then there is another element which I think is important. You cannot have denialism of, for example, climate change among
Yes.
that generation. So the moment they see this information on climate change, there is a bell that rings and says, okay, I'm facing something weird here. So I think that clearly this is a generation which will actually have a positive approach and will be more skilled and also more aware about how to actually fight against disinformation and not get into this trap.
But do we succeed with that? Because, especially when you mention the young people and the green politics in Wentemo, with the war in Ukraine, many things change, many plans of the green energy has been changed.
Yeah.
Do we actually, getting off, of some plans, especially for the young people in terms of green politics, shutting down the, some, really, parts of Europe when there are, many of those old technology has been producing a lot of, CEO and, many others that has been worried that European Union has not been doing enough for the green politics, especially among the young people?
Well, I don't think I have the answer, honestly. I think if I were a young guy right now, probably I would have these questions. I would question myself, it's a war more worse than a safe planet. But this shows the complexity of our reality. I mean, this is really something you get when you get adults, that sometimes there are compromises, that sometimes you don't have really the perfect solution, but you have to fight on different fronts if you want. No? So I think this is part of just growing and trying to understand that reality is more complex than what you think when you're young people.
From your own perspective, what do you considering will be the biggest challenge, before the European election?
Well, that's a tough question, honestly. Of course, I mean, if you look towards elections, disinformation is going to be a challenge, not only on the content of what politicians will say, but unfortunately, as we saw also locally in other elections, on the procedures to vote. So we see already disinformation on how to vote, which can impact, of course. But let me also say that the other challenge is trust. Trust in the institutions and in the media. There are data showing that trust in politics is kind of going down, and by consequence in elections. So I really hope that we gain again this trust. And I think the European Union did a lot in the last years to gain that trust again. I really hope that we will have many citizens going to vote. It's really important. It's about our future, our present, and so it's really key.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.